Overcoming modern-day anti-Semitism through the testimonies of two families who lived through the horrors of the Holocaust. A new documentary film shares the story of an Auschwitz survivor and the son and grandson of the Commandant who oversaw the death camp. Well, joining us is Daniela Volker, the director of the film, The Commandant's Shadow, and the grandson of Rudolf Hess, Kai Hess. Daniela, the timing of the release of this film is remarkable given the recent rise of anti-Semitism worldwide. So I'm sure it took years to put all of this together. So why were you determined to direct it?
I thought it was a very important story to tell, even before, the events of the last 6 or 7 months, because anti-Semitism and hatred and othering in general is something that wasn't confined to one particular period in history. And when I first came across the subject, so initially I was contacted by the daughter of Anita Lasker-Wallfisch, an Auschwitz survivor, Maya Lasker-Wallfisch, who was interested in sharing her experiences of transgenerational trauma. And I started looking into the subject. I came across the autobiography of Rudolf Hess, which is an extraordinary document written by a perpetrator who was also a prime witness. And then I came across Kai and his father. And you suddenly realize that it's a story set in the past, which is so relevant for the present. And as our film shows, it also leads into the future. There's a message of hope as both sides come together. So I guess I wanted to, in a way, bring something good into the world, a positive message.
Kai, you're the grandson of Rudolf Hess, the commandant of the Auschwitz death camp, and you're also a pastor in Stuttgart. So in the film, you talk about generational curses and the evil your grandfather inflicted on the Jews. And you talk about Exodus 20, the iniquities of the sins of the fathers are visited on the children and the children's children to the third and fourth generation. So how have you overcome the curse and the guilt?
Until I, as Christian, you would say, until I got saved in Singapore in 1989. And that's another story, but my salvation story, how I met Christ and how I changed, how my life changed. And that's when I started looking at the Bible and reading the Bible, especially the Old Testament. And I saw God's beloved people, the Jews, and how God had called Abraham, and now he had created his nation. And more, I realized that me being a Christian, I'm connected. I'm connected to the children of Israel, through Abraham, through my faith in the Jewish Messiah. And I saw my background, and I felt this is an incredible opportunity to go to these people and say, look, guys, I love you. And I don't think at all like my grandfather did. And I think what he did was horrific. And I want to just apologize on his behalf. I know he died, he's gone, he was executed for his crimes, but I want to tell you I love you guys, and whatever, if I could turn the clock back, I would, but what can I do, right? And so it changed my total understanding of the children of Israel, the people of Israel, Jews. And at the end of the day, I realized too, we are all God's creation. We ought to all love each other and have compassion for one another. And so I just realized this is a human problem that we have, and we can overcome that by love and grace.
Well, also in the film, Kai, at a men's breakfast Bible study, you mentioned, quote, all of us have the propensity to go into a direction that is totally wrong.
Right.
So with this current rise of anti-Semitism we're seeing on American college campuses in Europe, elsewhere, how concerned are you that there could be another Holocaust and the evil and horrors of the death camps would return?
I'm very concerned, and I think it's very important that governments, authorities step up and not just quell, but explain. Go out there with give explanations and teach people. And I think that's what the Commandant's Shadow, and that's why I'm so thankful also to Daniela that she channeled this and she put it in the right direction. And that documentary shows this hope that is possible, reconciliation that is possible. And when I went to that house, Anita's home, it was the most wonderful experience to embrace a lady that had suffered at the hands of my grandfather. And I think that story, that message can be put forward, held forth to these people that are demonstrating, these people who have a mission based on an emotion, that want to hurt, that want to get back, that want to get even, that they want to see that they're angry. Hey guys, look, this is what happens from anger to hatred, from hatred to war to bloodshed. Let's stop this and talk. And I think the movie shows this. And Anita makes this point, I think, very eloquently and very clearly, in the movie. I think on several points, she just says it very clearly. We need to forgive. We need to forget. We need to work together. We need to look forward what we can do to have peace and to love one another. And I think it's possible. So I think, your question, yes, I think if people don't come up with the right strategies and the right, and it has to be driven by a heart that is willing to change things. There has to be commitment to explain things. And I think if that doesn't happen, yes, this could spin out of control. Definitely, yeah.
Daniela, you feature the story of Anita Lasker-Wallfisch in the film. She survived Auschwitz because she was part of the camp band, a cello player. But she witnessed the gassings, the killings. Her parents were murdered. How has she overcome that experience? What about that pain? How did she overcome that? What did you learn from her story?
Well, it's interesting because what I did learn is that Anita, like many other survivors, is incredibly tough. So I think in 1945, there was a choice to make. You can either be broken by what you survived and the guilt of having survived, or you can just sort of pull the blinds down and look ahead. And I think for 50 years, that is what she did. And it's also what I guess her daughter, to some extent, thinks she suffered from, because a sort of silence descended. So her daughter wasn't aware of what had happened to her mother, why she had no grandparents. And I think, as we see in very many difficult families of situations, silence can be toxic. So I think it was really only at the point when it was the 50th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz that Anita first started talking. And, she then became, I guess, Holocaust educator, a campaigner in her retirement from being a cellist at the English Chamber Orchestra. So it's a remarkable career. But it's interesting that there needed to be 5 decades of something else.
Up next, more of the Commandant's shadow and an emotional son and grandson visit to Auschwitz, remembering the evil of Rudolf Hess, and how Kai Hess overcame the guilt of a grandfather who was the worst mass murderer in history.